Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, seekers of truth and purpose, today I want to speak to your inner warrior, your silent mind, your seeking soul. I want to talk about 7 habits, not ordinary habits, but powerful principles that, if practiced daily, will change your life forever. These are not taught in schools or written in rule books. These are the ancient teachings of clarity, discipline, self-realization, the path of the Shaolin. Shi Heng Yi, a master of mental and physical balance, once said, "Don't wish for life to be easier, wish for yourself to be stronger." It begins with you, not with motivation from others, but discipline from within. Self-discipline is the foundation of all greatness. It is the unseen force that drives every master, every warrior, every successful individual to rise above mediocrity. Without it, dreams remain fantasies. With it, impossible becomes possible. Shi Heng Yi teaches that discipline is not something you occasionally practice, it must become a lifestyle. It's the invisible armor you wear every day, the internal compass that guides your actions, even when your emotions scream otherwise. Discipline means doing what must be done, especially when you don't feel like doing it. That's where real strength is forged. It starts the moment you wake up. Do you snooze the alarm, or do you rise with purpose? Do you scroll mindlessly, or begin your day with silence and structure? These small decisions might seem insignificant, but they build your inner architecture. Each choice either sharpens your blade or dulls your edge. And let's be honest, the world today is not designed to support discipline. Everything is engineered for distraction, for comfort, for ease. But here's the truth. Growth lives outside comfort. Shi Heng Yi and the Shaolin tradition don't value ease, they value inner control. The monk trains not for applause, but to master himself. That's what discipline is, it's self-respect in action. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to wait for motivation. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the firewood. Discipline is brushing your teeth in the dark, meditating even when your mind races, showing up to train even when your muscles ache. It's choosing the hard path over the easy one because you understand that temporary discomfort leads to long-term strength, and discipline is not limited to your routines. It extends to your thoughts, speech, and emotions. It's the awareness to not lash out when you're angry, the patience to hold your ground in chaos, the courage to be consistent when nobody is watching. Discipline is being loyal to your goals long after the mood to achieve them has left. Shi Heng Yi reminds us that true power is not about control over others, it's control over yourself. Self-discipline builds that power slowly, silently, day by day, choice by choice, moment by moment. It will be hard, you will want to quit, but the more you practice it, the more you realize this is the path of the warrior, the monk, the master, and it's a path anyone can walk if they choose to show up. Every single day, your breath is your anchor. It is the bridge between the body and the mind, the visible and the invisible, the conscious and the unconscious. Most people breathe just enough to survive, but those who master their breath learn to truly live. Shi Heng Yi and the Shaolin monks treat breath not as a background function, but as a core pillar of life mastery. Every movement, every moment of stillness, every technique begins with awareness of breath. Why? Because the breath is the only function of the body that is both automatic and controllable. It is the gateway to inner control. Think about it. When you are anxious, your breath is shallow. When you are panicked, it's fast. When you are calm, it's slow and steady. Your breath reflects your internal state. But here's the key. By changing your breath, you can also change your internal state. This is the hidden power that most ignore. Imagine being able to slow your heart rate in moments of stress. Imagine calming your racing thoughts simply by inhaling with purpose. This isn't fantasy, it's biology, sharpened by awareness. Through consistent breathwork, You gain direct access to your nervous system, allowing you to switch from reaction to response, from chaos to clarity. Shi Heng Yi often emphasizes this in his teachings. The breath is a tool of transformation, and it must be trained like a muscle. The Shaolin monks spend hours breathing deeply, consciously, in motion, and in stillness. Whether in martial arts or meditation, their breath sets the rhythm for everything. It fuels focus. It grounds presence. It silences mental noise, and this isn't limited to monks or spiritual seekers. Athletes, soldiers, entrepreneurs, healers, those at the top of their game, use breath as a weapon. A slow, controlled inhale before a crucial decision. A full exhale before stepping into pressure. Breath becomes more than survival, it becomes strategy, but mastering your breath requires intention. Most people breathe unconsciously, shallow, quick, chest-based. Real mastery begins with retraining the body to breathe deeply into the belly. It means practicing when things are calm, so you're ready when life gets stormy. It means tuning in, moment by moment, using the breath to reset, recharge, and refocus. Breath mastery is also a spiritual practice. In many ancient traditions, the breath is seen as life force, kai, prana, energy. It's the current that carries vitality through your body. When you learn to control this force, you're not just managing stress, you're tapping into deeper dimensions of awareness and presence. You begin to move through life with stillness in motion, calm in chaos. When you feel lost, return to your breath. When you're overwhelmed, return to your breath. When your mind is racing, when emotions surge, when fear creeps in, return to your breath. Because the breath is always there, waiting to guide you back to your center. It is the most accessible and powerful tool for those seeking balance in an unbalanced world. In today's world, stillness is often mistaken for laziness and solitude for loneliness. But in truth, stillness is a source of profound power, and solitude is a space for transformation. Shi Heng Yi teaches that without silence you cannot hear your own soul. Without solitude you cannot discover who you truly are. We live in a hyper-connected age, constantly bombarded by notifications, noise, information, opinions, and distractions. Our minds are pulled in 1,000 directions before the sun even rises. But beneath all of that chaos is a voice, your inner voice, and it's being drowned out. You cannot connect with that voice unless you remove yourself from the noise. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It's the presence of awareness. It is the ability to pause, to observe without reacting, to breathe without rushing, to exist without needing to do. In the teachings of the Shaolin tradition, stillness is a deliberate act of strength, not weakness. Monks don't sit in silence to escape the world. They sit in silence to understand it, to understand themselves. Solitude is the sacred space where you confront your truth without masks, without distractions, without performance. When you sit alone, there is no audience, just you. That is where clarity is born. That is where old wounds are healed. That is where your real identity begins to form, not one shaped by expectations, but one rooted in inner wisdom. Shi Heng Yi often reminds his students that growth requires discomfort, and solitude is one of the most uncomfortable yet necessary teachers. In solitude, you'll face your own mind, the fears, the regrets, the insecurities, the buried pain, and that confrontation is not easy. But that is where the transformation begins. The path to mastery is not just through training the body or chasing achievements, it is through understanding the self. Stillness is not about doing nothing. It is about doing something deeper, observing your inner world. When you sit in stillness, you begin to see the patterns of your thoughts, the habits of your emotions, the stories you keep repeating. You begin to ask yourself better questions. Why do I react this way? Why do I seek validation? Why do I avoid silence? And once you begin to observe these things, you can change them. That's the power of stillness. It gives you the space to respond instead of react, to redirect your energy with purpose instead of being pulled by impulse. It creates a mental environment where clarity can grow. Stillness and solitude also help you build emotional resilience. You begin to realize that you are not your thoughts, you are not your fears, you are not your failures. You are the awareness behind them, the calm observer. The more time you spend in solitude, the stronger that observer becomes. And when life becomes turbulent, you'll find yourself rooted, grounded, unshaken, because you've trained yourself in the art of being still. In stillness, you remember what matters. You remember that peace does not come from outside validation, but from internal alignment. You begin to find joy not in excess, but in simplicity. In solitude, you reconnect with nature, with your breath, with the silence between each heartbeat. You learn to be present, not just productive. In the philosophy of Shi Heng Yi and the ancient Shaolin tradition, there is no separation between the body and the mind. They are seen as two reflections of the same truth. One cannot be strong while the other is neglected. The body is the vehicle of the mind, and if the vehicle is weak, the journey becomes unstable, uncertain, and slow. Modern life has created a dangerous illusion that we can live fully in our minds and ignore our physical form. But the body is not just a tool to carry us through the day. It is the foundation of presence, power, discipline, and energy. And just as you must nourish your thoughts with wisdom, you must train your body with effort, consistency, and respect. Shaolin monks begin their day before dawn with movement, not because they are chasing fitness goals, but because they understand that physical training is a spiritual ritual. Through sweat, through repetition, through fatigue, the body is purified and the mind is sharpened. Every punch, every stretch, every breath is a message to the brain, I am in control. Your physical habits shape your mental state more than you realize. When you train your body daily, you don't just build muscle, you build discipline, endurance, self-respect, and resilience. You teach yourself to keep going when it's uncomfortable. You create a system of self-accountability. You develop the ability to act regardless of how you feel, and that skill transfers to every area of life. Movement is not a punishment for the body, it is a celebration of life. To run, to jump, to stretch, to strike, these are not chores, they are privileges. The Shaolin don't move to look good, they move to feel aligned, to express spirit through form. Your physical posture, your strength, your endurance, these are not just signs of health. They are signs of how well you are managing your energy and your internal chaos. But training the body must go beyond vanity metrics. It's not about chasing perfection or comparing yourself to others. It's about creating a daily discipline that reminds you of your power. Whether it's martial arts, yoga, calisthenics, walking, or weightlifting, what matters is that you show up with intention. That you challenge yourself, that you breathe through discomfort and come out the other side stronger, calmer, more centered. The body also holds emotions. Stress, anger, anxiety, they don't just live in your head. They live in your shoulders, your chest, your gut, your spine. Physical movement is one of the most powerful ways to release those emotional toxins. When you move with awareness, you don't just stretch muscles, you unlock emotional knots. You process unresolved tension. You begin to cleanse the system. Shi Heng Yi teaches that when your body is disciplined, your mind becomes disciplined. When your body is flexible, your thinking becomes flexible. When your body is still, your thoughts become still. The connection is unbreakable. That is why the monk trains not for competition, but for mastery over self. And let's not forget, in the face of adversity, it is often your physical training that carries you through when your mind begins to doubt. The strong body becomes a fortress for the wavering spirit. The act of daily training reinforces your identity as someone who endures, someone who commits, someone who does not retreat from struggle. In a world obsessed with results, numbers, and external validation, One of the most radical acts you can commit is to shift your focus from the destination to the journey, from outcomes to process. This is not just a mindset shift, it's a fundamental transformation in how you approach your goals, your growth, and your very identity. Shi Heng Yi teaches that attachment is the root of suffering. When you are obsessed with outcomes, with success, applause, status, or perfection, you create unnecessary tension, anxiety, and disappointment. You begin to measure your worth by things outside your control. You lose the joy of practice, the beauty of growth, the richness of the present moment. You chase results like a mirage, always slightly out of reach. But the Shaolin philosophy offers a different path, a more sustainable and fulfilling one. It teaches that true mastery comes not from chasing victory, but from falling in love with the discipline of the path. The process is where real transformation happens. The result is merely a reflection, a byproduct. If the seed is nurtured, the fruit will come in its own time. This mindset requires humility and patience. It demands that you show up each day not because someone is watching, not because the reward is guaranteed, but because the act itself is meaningful. Whether it's meditation, training, building a business, or learning a new skill, you show up because the process shapes you. It teaches you consistency, resilience, focus, and character. It is within the process that you face your limitations and also where you transcend them. Detachment does not mean indifference. It doesn't mean you don't care about results. It means you don't depend on them to define your value or your commitment. You act with full effort, full heart, and full integrity, and then you let go. You surrender the need to control the outcome. You trust the process. You trust that every repetition, every attempt, every failure is shaping something within you that no result can give or take away. Shi Heng Yi often compares this to nature. A tree does not strain to grow tall. It simply roots itself deeply and grows upward through consistency and time. It does not look to the sky impatiently or measure its success by the tree next to it. It simply follows its process step by step, season by season, and eventually, without force, it flourishes. When you become process-driven, something extraordinary happens. You begin to enjoy the work. You stop measuring how far you have to go, and you start appreciating how far you've come. You begin to recognize that every step forward, no matter how small, matters. You begin to see that the growth happening inside of you is more valuable than any external achievement. This mindset also makes you more adaptable, because if you're only focused on the outcome, any obstacle feels like failure. But if you're focused on the process, obstacles become teachers. Setbacks become data. Delays become opportunities to go deeper, not reasons to give up. The process mindset removes ego, removes entitlement, and replaces them with curiosity, presence, and patience. And perhaps most importantly, detaching from outcomes brings inner peace. It allows you to breathe freely, to act without fear, to pursue excellence without needing perfection. It liberates you from the burden of needing to constantly prove yourself. You begin to understand that success isn't a destination, it's how you show up every day, with intention, with discipline, and with presence. Your mind is your most powerful asset, but it is also the most vulnerable to distraction, deception, and decay. Just as your body becomes a reflection of what you eat, your mind becomes a reflection of what you consume. Shi Heng Yi teaches that what enters your mind daily through your eyes, ears, and attention will quietly and consistently shape your thoughts, beliefs, and actions. We live in an age of overstimulation. Information floods your senses 24/7. Social media scrolls, news alerts, trending opinions, ads, algorithms. Everyone wants your attention, and the cost of giving it away carelessly is high. When you constantly consume noise, your mind becomes cluttered, reactive, anxious, unable to focus, to think deeply, or to hear your own intuition. Feeding your mind with wisdom is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It is a habit that separates those who lead themselves from those who are led by everything around them. When you nourish your mind with timeless principles, philosophical texts, meaningful conversations, and purposeful silence, you begin to elevate the quality of your thoughts. And when your thoughts improve, everything in your life improves: your decisions, your emotions, your relationships, your purpose. Shi Heng Yi and the Shaolin tradition emphasize the importance of mental discipline, and that discipline begins with what you allow into your inner world. Are you filling your mind with negativity, gossip, fear, and mindless entertainment? Or are you investing in clarity, calmness, depth, and perspective? Reading great books is one of the simplest and most powerful forms of mind training. When you read philosophy, history, spiritual teachings, or autobiographies of great individuals, you gain access to minds that have spent lifetimes distilling wisdom. These voices become your inner mentors, guiding your thoughts away from chaos and toward purpose. But feeding the mind with wisdom also means being intentional about what you remove, not just what you add. It means curating your digital space, limiting toxic media, muting distractions, and creating room for silence. The mind is like a garden; it cannot grow what is good if it is overrun with weeds. Learning to say no to noise is just as important as saying yes to wisdom. Another essential aspect of this habit is learning to observe your thoughts without becoming them. When you practice mindfulness, meditation, or journaling, you start to witness your own mind. You become aware of thought patterns, emotional triggers, self-sabotaging beliefs. That awareness is the first step toward change. You stop being a passive receiver and start becoming a conscious architect of your inner world. And wisdom doesn't only come from books or formal teachings. It also comes from life itself, from your failures, your conversations, your moments of solitude, your interactions with nature. But only if you're paying attention, only if you're quiet enough to listen, only if your mind has been trained to see lessons where others see obstacles. To feed your mind with wisdom is to make a daily choice, to rise above the shallow, to reach for the timeless, to value depth over distraction. When you choose this path, you slowly build a fortress around your focus, a sanctuary within your thoughts. You begin to live with more clarity, more intention, and more insight into what truly matters. In a world where most people are constantly reacting to messages, to emotions, to distractions, to pressure, the rare individual who lives with intention becomes a force of stability, clarity, and purpose. Shi Heng Yi teaches that to live without intention is to live as a passenger in your own life, being pulled by every external current, never truly steering the direction of your own path. Living with intention means waking up each day with a conscious sense of purpose, not just drifting into routines, but choosing them, not just responding to what happens, but shaping what happens through mindful action. It is about aligning your thoughts, words, and behaviors with your deeper values and long-term goals. It's the difference between movement and progress, between being busy and being effective. When you live reactively, your life becomes a constant series of emotional shifts: happiness when things go your way, frustration when they don't, anxiety when outcomes are uncertain. You become a slave to circumstances. But when you live with intention, you build a solid core that does not shake so easily. You make decisions based on principles, not moods. You remain grounded when others are scattered. You become the observer of your thoughts, not a victim of them. This shift doesn't happen by accident. It starts with awareness. Shi Heng Yi often emphasizes the importance of cultivating the space between stimulus and response, that brief, sacred pause where choice lives. When something challenges you, when someone criticizes you, when fear arises, you have a moment to choose your response. That choice is where intention lives. That space is where growth begins. To live with intention, you must ask yourself powerful questions every day. Why am I doing what I'm doing? What is the purpose behind my actions? Are my habits aligned with my values? Am I creating my day or just reacting to it? These questions bring you back to yourself. They help you act rather than merely respond. They give you the clarity to stop wasting time on what is urgent but unimportant, and instead focus on what is meaningful and lasting. Intention also applies to the energy you carry into your relationships, your conversations, your work, your solitude. Are you present or just physically there? Are you speaking from your ego or from your truth? Are you listening to respond or listening to understand? Every moment is an opportunity to infuse more purpose into your being. Living intentionally doesn't mean being rigid or controlling. It means being conscious and responsive rather than impulsive and automatic. It means making time to pause, to reflect, to redirect your energy when needed. It means planning your day with clarity instead of allowing the day to control you. It means choosing your emotional state rather than being hijacked by it. This is especially crucial in a digital world where attention is under attack. Every ping, every scroll, every headline is designed to pull you into reaction mode. Living intentionally is a form of resistance. It's the discipline of reclaiming your attention and using it wisely, directing it toward creation, connection, growth, stillness. When you live with intention, you begin to live with peace. You stop overcommitting. You stop saying yes when you mean no. You stop chasing validation and start aligning with your values. Life becomes simpler, deeper, and more fulfilling because your energy is no longer scattered in 100 directions. It is focused, directed, purposeful. So now the path stands before you, not a path paved with shortcuts or instant rewards, but one built on inner strength, deep awareness, and unwavering discipline. These 7 habits are not just daily actions. They are ways of thinking, ways of living, ways of being. They are the silent architecture of transformation, designed not to impress the world, but to elevate your spirit. They do not demand perfection, only presence. They do not promise ease, only evolution. You are not here to drift through life. You are here to train your body, discipline your mind, master your emotions, and reclaim your power. The journey won't be easy, but nothing worth becoming ever is. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, every time you choose silence over chaos, every time you choose growth over stagnation, you are changing your life, not in some distant future, but in this very moment. The Shaolin path is not a destination, it is a devotion to presence, a devotion to self-mastery, a devotion to living with meaning. So rise, commit, walk with intention, and let the habits you choose today shape the life you live forever. Fire.